Hi there, this is Berin Stevens, and today in this video what I want to talk about is making the transition from clarinet to saxophone. Since we're starting a new band year about right now, there's a lot of people who for a year or two they've been playing clarinet, and now they want to switch over to saxophone. And the good news is there are a lot of similarities between the two instruments, but there are also some important differences that I want to point out in this video in order to help you make that transition over to saxophone. Now, first of all, as far as posture goes, and I have another video where I talk about that, but the posture rules are pretty much the same, between the two instruments, for most instruments for that matter. But, rib cage up, not up tense, but up in relaxed position, back is straight, but mainly we want to make sure we're open down here so that when we take a breath, we have room for that. So I don't want to go into that too deeply. But one of the things with clarinet that, the most obvious things that we have to change is our embouchure. Now in clarinet embouchure, and again I talk about this in yet another video, but we want that firm lower lip, flat chin, and we're kind of blowing into it like this. And that's to get the right sound and tone quality that we want on clarinet. But if we do that on saxophone, we're going to end up with a pinched sound, and we don't want that. So what we want to do different on saxophone is make sure that you get more of this ooh shape. So on the saxophone, if you know how to whistle, again I talk about this in another video, but if you know how to whistle, it's like where you do this ooh shape, corners are focused in and forward just a little bit, jaw is lower, and the chin should be more in a relaxed natural shape instead of the flat shape. So that's one of the important things, and that's very visual. In fact, what I suggest as you're making this transition over to saxophone is watch in the mirror and make sure you're keeping this ooh shape. So you should see this here instead of the embouchure wanting to stretch out and the chin wanting to stretch out. Another important thing about making the difference is on the clarinet, we want to get the air moving through the mouth pretty quickly. And so we have more of an E shape. It's like saying the vowel E, E, we're pushing the air through there like that. We don't want to do that when we play saxophone. On the saxophone, inside the oral cavity, we want more of an O or O shape. So it's a little more like if you were to sing, you want to have that nice open O shape. So that's one of the things that also makes a big difference. A third thing is air speed, I should say. On the clarinet, it's a smaller instrument, so we have to drive the air a little bit faster, and so it's more of like if you're blowing air onto your hand, it's like blowing cold air, like that. Where the saxophone, it's more of a warm air. It's like fogging glasses. So you can feel warm air on your hand. And where this has been a problem for some players as they're going from clarinet to sax is they might be doing everything else correctly, but they just have a hard time getting the low notes to come out on the saxophone. And a lot of times it's because they're blowing the air too fast, especially for those who are transferring over to tenor sax. They have to blow it even slower, the bigger the saxophone. So yeah, make sure to slow down to airspeed, and that should help you get the lower notes to come out easier as well. And then a couple other little things. Probably once we get the basics out of the way, one of the tricky things is learning how to read the music on the saxophone as compared to clarinet. Because, well, I guess kind of the good news thing is like from this middle D range up to the high B, the fingerings are the same. So if you got up into the upper register clarinet before you switch over to the saxophone, that will help a little bit. But on the saxophone, the note names remain the same. Where on clarinet, if you got the 6 fingers down, that is a G. Add the register key, it's a D. And then this here is an A. Add the register key, it's an E. So it changes note names on the clarinet. So it takes a little bit of getting used to, but it actually kind of simplifies things a little bit on the saxophone. Where in the low register, this is a D. Add the octave key, it's still a D. It's just an octave higher. This is an E, this is an E. So that helps a little bit, but it is a little bit awkward, again, as you learn to read music. So one of the suggestions I have, like for instance, if you're having a hard time remembering what the notes are, like for instance, well, this will be an A, but on clarinet, of course, we figure A like that. Well, we don't do that on saxophone. The A is going to be fingered like what a low D would be on clarinet with the 2 fingers here. So what I would suggest is you just take your saxophone and stare that note down and do long tones while staring at that note and getting used to this fingering for that note position. And that way, it's just a way to help you get used to reading and seeing those notes and recognizing them and getting to the point where you have the stimulus response. And yeah, at first it takes a little bit of concentration and it might be a little bit awkward, but the more you work with it, you'll get to the point where you can switch pretty easily. I remember when I was making the switch, and I actually did it backwards compared to most people. I started on saxophone, then I learned clarinet. So I had to spend some time in front of the mirror making sure I got the flat chin. And I had to really focus. That E shape is just really foreign to me inside the oral cavity. Remembering that, get that going. So if you're like me and you're doing that, then you'll need to focus on that. If you're clarinet switching to sax, you want to watch in the mirror, focus on this, get that shape, the O shape in the throat, slow down the air. And just the last thing to talk about, tonguing. Again, I've got another video where I talk about that. It's the same thing pretty much between the two instruments. If you can tongue great on clarinet, it'll carry right over to saxophone. Sometimes if you're going from saxophone to clarinet, it doesn't carry over as well because you can get away with inefficiencies on the saxophone. Clarinet, especially upper register clarinet, does not let you get away with those inefficiencies. So if you can do upper register clarinet good, you can do any of the single reed instruments fine. Until then, if you have any other questions, feel free to email me. Thanks for watching.